the basic principles of a trigger job right now on Pirate Firearms and Reloading. Hi everybody, so today I'm going to show you the basics and the principles of a trigger job. So this happens to be my Citadel LevTac, which is the same as a Rossi R92. So what I'm going to do here is just remove the trigger from the bottom plate of the action. If you don't know how to disassemble your rifle this far, check back, I have a video on that. So I'm just going to cover the basic principle here today. So first of all, I'm going to clean off any oils or grease on the trigger, and I'm going to show you how this particular trigger and sear assembly locks into the hammer. And understanding how a trigger works is the first part of it. Now you can see here the sear is nice and rough, you can even see a little bit of paint in the center, and this is what we're going to focus on today, smoothing that out. So you can see with this particular hammer design and a lot of hammered lever guns, there is a half-cock safety, whereas you have this big notch in here in which depressing the trigger will not release the hammer. You have this second notch here, or the second cock position, which is the fire position. You can see that it disconnects nice and simply. So understand the basic principle of how your trigger works first. So you need a few basic supplies. What I have here in the little tray is an Arkansas stone, and I'm adding water to that tray. The water helps lift the material out of the Arkansas stone. Now this is the best type of stone to use, as it doesn't really move material, it simply polishes that surface, that sear that we're looking at. Now I'm not going to worry about the hammer in this case because of the unique shape of the notch. It's going to be very hard to polish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flat side of my Arkansas stone and simply match it to the existing angle. I don't want to change the angles because that could alter the safety. Once you've got the angle in the correct place and you can feel it sitting flat against the sear, you then want to just start gently wiping back and forward with the stone over the surface. Every so often you'll want to dip it back in the water to remove any paint or anything like that that may have impregnated in the stone. Now these stones are water stones, they're not oil stones, so you've basically got to use water in its purest form. You don't want too many minerals or anything in it. I am on rainwater that's stored in a tank, so my water is about as pure as I'm going to get it. And you just want to keep rubbing that stone back and forward over the sear. Now I have done this a fair few times and I do it by hand. If you're not quite as confident, you may want to put this in the vise and do it, but I find doing it freehand gives me the best result and keeps me as close as possible to the original angle. If you put it in a vise and you're holding the stone on a slightly goofy angle, you will alter the angle, and that could affect your safety, and that's something that you really don't want to do. All I'm looking for here is to improve the feel of the trigger. Now I measured this trigger before I started and it came in at just under 4 pounds. So it's not a terrible trigger in terms of its pull weight out of the box. It's not a bench rest rifle, I don't need it down to 1 pound. Some of my target competition rifles, I do have them that low, but I don't intend on walking around and shooting with them. They're a rifle that's set up on a bipod or in a bag and shot from that position. So as you can see here, it's now polished out fairly smooth. There's a nice sheen to it. You can see a touch of paint just in the center there. I haven't quite got it all, but the key with this, like most things involved with gunsmithing, is time and patience. Now, like I described earlier, that notch in the hammer where the sear locks into is at such an angle that it's almost impossible to work, so I'm just going to leave that out today, just for convenience sake. Now it'll depend on the design of your firearm whether that's possible or not. this is the set here. It's just a non-expensive set. There's several different angles of stone here, and you can pick these up usually from like a gunsmithing supply. If you're in a place in the world where Brownells or somebody like that will ship, you can usually pick them up from there. But stick to Arkansas. It's not aggressive. Some other stones are substantially more aggressive. So now what I'm going to do is flip this rifle over and check the trigger pull. So I'm just going to check the rifle once again for safety. Chamber is clear and the magazine is clear. I've got my trusty Timney trigger pull gauge. This is the manual one. There's certainly digital ones out there which will give you a really accurate reading, but this is more than enough. And so now the trigger pull is coming in at right on 3.5 pounds. So it's down from about 3.9 pounds, which is good. It's a little bit of an improvement, but I wasn't chasing a massive improvement. What I was trying to achieve is cleaning up the trigger pull. I wanted it to break crisply and have no gritty feeling as you depress the trigger. So now if you watch me depress the trigger, you'll see that there is very, very minimal travel before it breaks. It's so crisp and so clean. And that is the result I'm after. I'm not worried about the pull because this is not a bench rest rifle by any stretch of the imagination. Now, you may be asking, why am I hitting my firearm? What I'm doing here is making sure that the hammer is not going to fall from an impact. By using a hammer close to the action, I'm simulating a drop. Now this is not the be all end all, but it's giving me an indication that everything is still safe inside this unit, inside the action. And I'm just tapping the trigger as well, making sure it's not going to go off. The good thing about hammer guns like this with a half cock is if the trigger is not depressed as the hammer is falling, the half cock will generally catch the hammer as well. But I'm not prepared to rely on that. So it's all good. I've improved the trigger pull and I'm happy with the overall result. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I release new videos every Friday, so hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on anything. See you in the next one.